Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the potential story of Doctor Doom for Avengers Doomsday. So recently, the Russo Brothers have been promoting their movie. They have been having multiple interviews over the past few days. And the movie they are referring to is The Electric State. And I do not know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's a movie that just released on Netflix. And there was a scene in this movie where it did show a Scarlet Witch reference. We saw a robot reading an Avengers West Coast comic number 56. And on the cover, it did say the witch is back. This is going to be something that we are going to be referring to for the rest of this video, because I do think, this is just my own personal theory, but I do think that the Russo brothers are trying to tell us something here. So the Russo brothers had an interview and they stated that Tony Stark's death in Endgame is key to Doctor Doom's story in Avengers Doomsday. This is what they said, and I quote, "We can't explain that as it's part of the story, but there's nobody else in the world who could play this character the way that he's about to." So what does this mean, right? What does it mean when the Russo brothers are saying that Tony Stark's death is key to Doctor Doom's story? And I do think that we're going to be seeing Doctor Doom get created, right, through the death of Tony Stark. So that event is going to be very key to us getting introduced to Doctor Doom for the first time. There's a reason why they continue to say only he is able to play this character, and the way that he's going to do it is going to be amazing, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the Russo brothers continue to say that time and time again. That is because they believe that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing a Tony Stark variant that is Doctor Doom. If you do need a Tony Stark variant to play Doctor Doom, of course you're going to be bringing back Robert Downey Jr. That is the reason why they wanted to bring him up in the first place, and why they continue to say that only he could play this role and nobody else in the world. They continue to hype him up. That is because that is what the story is going to be about. We might literally see a Tony Stark variant that is Doctor Doom. Now here's the thing, how is this going to play out? So moving forward from here, it's only going to be speculation, only theories. By the time I do end this video, it's going to be very wide open. Nothing is going to be concluded, but I do want you guys to take into consideration what might be going on here. Point number one, we'll start with the small ones. We have heard talks about that what if at the end of Endgame, Tony Stark does kill Doctor Strange and he takes his powers during that big battle, which leads to Tony Stark becoming the new Sorcerer Supreme. So now you have the brains of Tony Stark, and you also do have the magic of Doctor Strange, because right now in the comics, Doctor Doom is Sorcerer Supreme. Let's move on towards theory number two. It is the plain old Tony Stark variant theory, where we do see a Stark variant losing his parents very young and is adopted by the Von Doom family, and he does get renamed Victor Von Doom. And of course, this will take place in a separate universe, maybe where the Fantastic Four do come from. Once again, going back to what the Russo brothers said and about their comments on Robert Downey Jr., that he's the only actor who can play this version for Doomsday and Secret Wars. But then comes the big one, right? Let's talk about the biggest theory that everybody has been excited about. What if, okay, what if Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom switch bodies? Meaning, what if Doctor Doom possesses the body of Tony Stark when he's dead after the events of Endgame? This would tie into storylines like Iron Man, Demon in a Bottle, and Infamous Iron Man. There's comics about this. There's literally comics where Doom uses a device to swap bodies with Stark, and that is going to be how Doctor Doom gets the magic and gets the brains of a real scientist, right? He's possessing the body of a scientist, Tony Stark, and then you do have Doctor Doom already with his sorcery. It's insane, but it does make a lot of sense, meaning that in some other universe, there could be the real Doctor Doom, but the one that we're going to be seeing in Doomsday and Secret Wars, it is just Tony Stark reviving himself, but through the consciousness of Victor Von Doom. That way, you get a perfect mix between a sorcerer and a scientist. And yes, this does sound very familiar. We have seen something like this happen before in the MCU. We have seen Billy Maximoff possess Billy Kaplan in Agatha All Along. This could also tie in Wiccan's possession arc. It also does combine with elements like dreamwalking in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where you're able to just take over somebody else's body. You're tying in multiple movies during the multiverse saga. This is the reason why it would make a lot of sense for Victor Von Doom to possess the body of Tony Stark, and in the end becoming Doctor Doom. There was also this report that came out a few weeks ago that stated that some heroes are going to be looking at Doctor Doom as their hero, their savior. And at that time, we're like, okay, why would they see Doctor Doom as their savior? and that is because he had the answers to save the multiverse. Somebody who knew how to handle things. And it would only make much more sense if these heroes say, yes, he is our savior, our hero, and that is because that is Tony Stark. We know him already. This guy literally revived himself, and now he's stronger than ever before, and he has the answers towards incursions going on in the multiverse. There was also this Mark Waid Fantastic Four run where Reed does trap Dr. Doom in a prison dimension, but Doom ends up escaping by transferring his soul to the body of every Fantastic Four member except Reed Richards. So he was jumping through Sue, through Johnny, through Ben. So this whole thing about going into somebody else's body is nothing new to Dr. Doom's history. So let me know in the comment sections down below, would you like to see a story like this play out in Avengers Doomsday? Or do you just think that we need to see something else different and you just don't want to see something so freaky like possessing a body, especially Tony Stark, who is already dead? He's gonna end up having the messed up face. I don't know if you guys have seen how Tony Stark ended up looking like at the end of Endgame, but like half of his face was teared off because of the effects of the gauntlet. Could that be a reason why he might put on the mask in Avengers Doomsday? We'll see. The Russo brothers also talked about what their strategy is going to be for the MCU. Like, what do they want to accomplish with Doomsday and Secret Wars for the broader story? And they do aim to refocus the narrative in the MCU. And this is what they said. Yes, the MCU has gotten quite large, that's for sure. I mean, frankly, we struggle with the same issue. But part of the reason Joe and I decided to go back is exactly what you're talking about. There needs to be more of a central narrative. That was something we were very specific about when we worked with Marvel before. We would like to bring the focused narrative back. And one of the ways you could bring a more focused narrative in the MCU is most likely by setting up a brand new beginning. This is something that we have talked about before, that Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to lead us towards the next phase, which is the mutant saga. But instead of concluding the saga with those two big Avenger films like they did with Infinity War and Endgame, the Russo brothers are going to want to use Doomsday and Secret Wars to introduce us to a brand new universe and a brand new story, almost giving us a soft reboot. The Russo brothers even said, we told an ending story with Endgame, but now we're going to tell a beginning story, and this is how they're going to try and refocus the narrative in the MCU, is to give us a brand new beginning with these two projects. It's going to be really wild because for the first time ever in Marvel history, we're going to be having our first Avenger movies with full rights to all characters, including the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Once again, something that we did not have back when Infinity War and Endgame were created. So we could see the mutants and the Fantastic Four get integrated into the main history of 616. We can see young T'Challa get aged up, a potential resurrection of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, maybe even a recast, whatever they want to do. The goal would be to establish the core Marvel universe as it was always intended, with all superheroes being present in just one plain universe. Yes, Infinity War and Endgame provided a satisfying conclusion to the Infinity Saga, but it failed to set us up for the MCU's future post Endgame. So this misstep did hurt Marvel's momentum, and I do think that the Russo brothers are going to be getting everything right with Doomsday and Secret Wars. So that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.